So today, a topic which is near and dear to everyone's heart, which is the industry is changing a lot. There's a lot of noise going on what's changing and what's real. And today, we want to talk about where Big Fish sees the opportunities, where our partners see the opportunity to make real money. There's been a lot of scary things happening in the world of games. Just today, Big Point, a company out of Europe, announced they're laying off 120 people. Zynga yesterday announced they're shutting 3 cities studios and laying off 150 people. So, what's going on? It's anytime an industry is in rapid change, there's a lot of people who say that the industry is dying, that there's something wrong. And when the reality is, it's just that there's a lot of things that used to work that no longer work. And so the real challenge here is to look through that lens of what is working today. What is being hyped is not always what is making money. Everyone has an agenda. I have an agenda here today, of course. But I will try and be fairly honest about what it is that we are seeing in the market and where people are making money. I'm going to end this day with what I've never done before in Kyiv, which is give some real developer case studies with real revenue figures attached. The developers have all given me permission to show these slides, but this is the actual revenue that they've been seeing from various games across various platforms. So with that, some of these facts are self-evident that you know already. Social games are not doing as well as they used to. Zynga is contracting year over year. They're laying off people. Retail sales is not news. That has been declining for almost a decade. Thanks to digital, thanks to us in this room. Console sales are plummeting. Part of that is a shift in the way people are playing games. Part of that is simply between cycles of major console releases, but it's not necessarily a growth industry, even if you take the cyclicality of the consoles out. I'm also speaking slow today. Last time I spoke here, I spoke very quickly, and I didn't notice all the people in the back telling me to slow down. So I am actually awake. It's just I'm trying to make it easier on the translator. Mobile store app stores. The idea that we can now, as a developer, publish directly to a consumer-facing app store by yourself and self-publish can work, but it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, that there is a huge saturation of the number of games being submitted every day to these app stores. And so getting discovered is incredibly hard, and there's a new term called zombie apps. And those are great games that get launched, but no one knows it. No one finds them. And so even though it's a great game, it goes nowhere. And the last fact, most casual portals are dead. Notice I said most. Not all. Here's there's very few public companies that you can look at the games industry, but here's a couple of them. The Zynga graph just dropped by about another 20% since I took this snapshot, so it continues in its free fall. So this is a lot of bad news. So, who is making money in games? If you are, raise your hand. 3 of you. How did you play for your plane tickets here? So this is my thesis for this presentation, is that Big Fish is making money. And developers working with us are making money. And I'm here today to kind of talk through what we're seeing working and what is not. So what you'll learn today is we're going to go over kind of what games are making money, what platforms we see as really interesting versus just a lot of work and not a lot of return. And then the plug at the end of my agenda is why we're a good partner, of course. So Premium casual business. This is we're going to start kind of at the beginning of casual. Linear, this is how Big Fish Games was started. And this is considered an aging business model, making games that you buy. It's a very boring business, and especially making games that you buy for PC portals. PC is a legacy platform. It's all about mobile these days. It's all about social. But that's not true. There's over 1.4 billion PCs that are being actively used every day around the world. That's a big audience. So just because it's not growing doesn't mean it's not a huge opportunity. We're seeing growth. Our customer base around PC is growing. We're going into more countries every year, and we're seeing our revenue per title increasing as well, and that's very important. It's not just aggregate growth by more games being launched, but every game we launch is on average making more than it was the year before. So premium casual on PC is a big business. Show me the proof. So this is a developer partner of ours out of Asia, actually, but they have a very popular brand called Dark Parables. And this shows 3 years of consecutive releases. They release one Dark Parables title per year. And you can see in 2010, this is number of units of the collector's edition on the English website alone. And that in the first week in 2010, we sold 20,000 units. We launched the Red Riding Hood series, the most recent one, just about a month ago, and it sold 35,000 units in its first 7 days. Now that's a premium priced product. That's $14 to $20 per unit. Judging by how strong it's come out of the gate, it's a $2 million opportunity for this developer on our portals around the world alone. That's PC and Mac portals around the world. This game will make $2 million. When you extend that to looking at the new platforms like mobile, iOS, Android, and then extending it through our new cloud service, which is a emerging business model that can hit new platforms like IPTVs without any work from the developer, we think this title has a $3 to $4 million lifetime opportunity. And the nice thing about this title is it's a traditional try before you buy. The developer's done. There's no more work by the developer. He's completed this title, and this is the revenue that we're expecting to see from that title. He will have to port the title to mobile, but there's no work for cloud, and so there's just a minimal effort to get that lifetime value out of this one game. So then you take that same premium content, and we're leveraging it to mobile. And a successful title on mobile can do $1 million in addition to what it did on PC and Mac. It's a simple port. We're not talking about building a new game from the ground up. We'll talk about that later. But a simple port of a hit PC game can do $1 million that we publish to iOS, and then some from Android. Again, iOS is by far the larger opportunity for these linear adventure games or these puzzle games for casual. Screen size still matters for casual. Some puzzle games and some mechanics work very well on the iPhone. The very cinematic, art-rich games still work better on tablets, and that's why iOS is dominant in mobile. Other titles, we have a casino title that is equally dominant on iPhone, if not more revenue on iPhone, but it takes a special title to work well on a small screen. Our strategy around mobile was to build a network. We didn't want to be reliant on a feature from an app store. So we've been releasing a lot of content. We have a huge user base of over 14 million users a month visiting our websites, our casual websites, and these are very qualified users. These are people who are looking and buying games. And with all those games, they've all been networked together, so when we launch a new title like we did yesterday, every single game we've ever released, and we've distributed over 110 million titles on mobile. Every one of those 110 million titles, if they're still installed on the person's device, yesterday was promoting one title. And it gives us the ability to organically, without a feature from Apple or without a feature from Google Play, to push a title to the #1 spot. The title we launched yesterday is currently sitting at the #1 free distributed title. And that's been pretty consistent over the last 6 months. So here's some interesting stats and looking at our growth in mobile. And again, I call this our developer revenue growth. This is the net sales we get from Apple after their cut. iOS alone on this chart, and showing our growth over 3 years. The App Store itself has been growing about 100% per year. Our ability to sell products into that App Store has been growing at 300% per year. And that's very important to note that if your growth is exceeding the growth of the underlying App Store, you're gaining market share, you're gaining marketing and distribution power, which is very important. When you get 200 games submitted in a single week to Apple, they have the ability to feature 3 or 4 or 5 games on the front page, and if you don't get featured, you will get no downloads. We have the ability to make our own features, which is called the free rankings. We can drive any title into the top 10 every time we launch a title. And that means that every title that is good gets discovered, and if it's good, it will sell. There's another, I obviously have G5 on this chart. G5 has a lot of claims about mobile being the future. I agree, mobile is the future. But there's also today, that this is our sales on PC and mobile. If I go back a slide, or 2, if you look at our mobile business, our Q3 annual run rate is around $55 million, which is a big number. G5 is hovering right around 12 to 14 million annual. That's their entire revenue for the entire year, and that's all their revenue, not just mobile. And if you look at all of our revenue, we're going to do well over $200 million as a run rate. That's up significantly year over year. Games industry, especially casual, is growing. This is premium casual game revenue. And if the same chart last year we announced we did $180 million in revenue. So this is up significantly. And so when you choose a partner, choose wisely. There's more than just one platform out there. You want to get distribution across platforms with the biggest publisher you can to reach the maximum amount of users. Again, if you don't want to use a publisher, don't choose someone as a publisher who can do basically what you can do yourself. There's companies out here in the audience. Playrix has done a very nice job self-publishing. So if you don't want to work with a publisher, self-publish. But if you're working with a publisher, make sure they have the distribution and marketing to make it worthwhile. Over the last year, we've grown from number 9 grossing publisher on iPad to the number 4 on this chart. As of September data that just came out, we're up to number 3 grossing game developer on iPad. On iOS, we are up to number 8 grossing publisher in the world in September. Aggregate year to date, this chart reflects what we've done year to date. So whenever you see stats, look for what the stats are saying. Are you being very specific, saying on a Tuesday we downloaded 25% more games than this other company? That's a lot of qualifications. What this is saying is in the entire App Store, for the entire sales year to date, these are the rankings. So there's no qualifications around this. These are the hard numbers. This is the most respected source for actual sales in the App Store, in this case iOS. Android is also a good mobile opportunity. It takes the right game to be successful on Android. You can launch linear adventure games. The screen size has the same limitation as the iPhone, where Android does not have significant penetration in tablets yet. We think that's changing. The Nexus 7 tablet, Kindle's Fire HD, show a lot of promise in the coming year. And so we are betting on Android, and we are making the investments today in staff and porting resources to do what we did in iOS last year on Android this year, starting now. So we're launching 3 games per week into iOS. We are now launching 1 game every week into Android. And we expect that velocity to increase as we see success in 2013. And again, why, we're starting out in Android, why work with Big Fish Games? We have about 2.5 million visitors per month that have Android devices. This is data supplied by surveys of people visiting our site. So out of the gates, before we even launch products in Android, we can reach 2.5 million Android users. We've been launching games for about a year on Android at a pace of about 1 per month, 1 to 2 per month, and we're stepping that up now to 1 per week. So after mobile, what's next? This summer at Casual Connect, we did a live announcement of launching Big Fish Unlimited. Big Fish Unlimited is a cloud gaming service. The good news for developers is it runs your PC game. It requires no porting, and it will get you eventually to every device in the world. That is a big opportunity that comes in addition to the revenue you make from native ports on PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. Cloud allows us to play the PC game in a data center in the cloud, and all that's coming to the consumer is interactive video. There's a thin client on the consumer end who interacts with the interactive video, sends it back up to the cloud, puts that action into the game, and the results are then displayed to the users instantaneously. In our focus groups, our consumers could not tell the difference that they were playing a native game, meaning that this cloud experience has reached the point for casual games where it's as good as playing a native app. And we rolled this out in the US, and we are starting to scale it across multiple devices. You can now play our Big Fish Unlimited in the US only. Because you have to be near a data center, we're starting in the US and then expanding globally. You can play on PCs, mobile devices, and in Q4 on televisions, streaming to televisions. The nice thing about casual is it's very easy to deliver via this technology. There's a number of companies that tried this with core games and were successful as far as the experience, but it was incredibly expensive and it didn't pencil, meaning that every city that you wanted to serve, you had to have a dedicated data center. You also had to have a dedicated controller. With casual games, even on a TV, any smartphone becomes a casual game controller. The actual input device for a cloud gaming experience does not have to be the same as the output device. So you could be watching the game on the TV, and your iPhone or your Android phone could be the controller back up to the game itself. Very exciting technology. It's very early. This is an emerging business. We have thousands of subscribers already, but we're just starting to market this product as we get on more platforms. It also opens up new territories. How many people have a robust business selling games that you buy into China and Korea? There are no hands. It's very difficult. If games can be pirated for free in China and Korea, they will be. No DRM can prevent that. What cloud enables is piracy-free gaming. The only thing that's leaving the data center is video. So there's nothing to pirate. And so we think this is a huge opportunity for us to enter China and Korea with the casual games that have already been made today. Over about 15 months ago, we started porting about 1,000 games to Chinese and Korean with the anticipation in 2013 launching a cloud gaming service in China and Korea. And these are the games that you've already made, requires no additional work on your side as a developer. I have a quick video here. I don't know if this is going to work, but so this has a nice music soundtrack, but we don't have audio hooked up. Julia did not want me to put that ending in. That was not the original ending. So that is our cloud service. Obviously, don't play games while walking down the street. So again, with our cloud service, you can play the same games as you've already made. You can play, you get unlimited access to a catalog. It's based on a all-you-can-eat subscription service. Game developers are paid based on the number of times your games are played versus other games. Consumers get instant access, and you can play across any device. You can play on your PC, you can exit, pick up your Google Nexus 7, pick up exactly where you left off, put it down, get on a subway, play on your Android phone or your iPhone, get off, go to work, open your desktop, and keep playing the same game, same progress. So it's a really, it's a promise that has been made for probably 20 years of cross-platform, play once, one status on any device with one single game developed. And this is the first time it's been truly realized. So next, you know, a big topic right now is free-to-play. Free-to-play is a big and growing business. Right now, it is the best thing to build for mobile. It is not the only thing to build for mobile. Our premium try before you buy games are doing extremely well on mobile. However, this is a market that can't be ignored. It's doing very well. And if you look at the demographic of people who are playing free-to-play games, it's very similar to that of playing premium casual, but they're not the same people. The people who play free-to-play games are largely different than the people who play premium casual games. Premium casual games that you buy, people are playing for the experience of the game. They're playing to get into the game, to understand the story, to solve some puzzles and get through the game. People who play free-to-play games are playing for a different reason. They're being extrinsically motivated by leveling up, by achieving rare objectives, and by constantly being rewarded by the game itself. And, again, paying money to get those rewards faster. And so it's a very different psychology as to why people play the two games, even though when you advertise the word puzzle game, it will attract both audiences. And so as a developer, you need to think about developing for both those audiences. And Big Fish we are forward investing in free-to-play. We've engaged a number of our existing premium casual developers who are actively building free-to-play content. We're also talking with brand new free-to-play developers who want to take advantage of our marketing and our reach to launch their products. And again, mobile is where this business is the biggest right now. Free-to-play does not equal social. A lot of times people confuse the two. Social is not free-to-play and free-to-play is not social. Social games do monetize via free-to-play, but that does not mean single-player free-to-play aren't very successful, especially on mobile. If you take a social game and put it on mobile, it will largely not flourish. You have to adapt it for the platform and remove a lot of the social hooks to make it actually successful. What we're doing with PC is that social was considered the PC environment for free-to-play. As of this month, we're starting to launch free-to-play games in our worldwide app stores for PC and Mac. We already launched 2. We launched one last week, and we've launched a new game this week in the free-to-play model for the first time. And the significance here is that you're not relying on a Facebook or some third-party platform, is that we launch the titles and we do all the marketing for you. And so it's a great incremental opportunity for a mobile game. So if you made a free-to-play mobile game for iPad, it doesn't necessarily fit on social. Many free-to-play games are not that social. But it does work with our audience on our portal, and we've seen a lot of success just in the first week. And we plan on ramping this up to being about 2 games per month into our PC Mac portals around the world. And again, that's 14 to 15 million active game purchasers and players. So why free-to-play with mobile? We have a huge amount of reach. We have, again, 110 million apps. Yesterday, we launched a game called Found. It was by one of our partners in Russia called Elephant Games. Are you in the audience? Yay! Big round of applause. The reason we're applauding is that this is their game. It's the first one we've published to mobile and free-to-play, and as of yesterday and to this morning, it's the #1 game in the App Store. So it's a big milestone for us to embrace this model. We've had free-to-play games in the market We've had a casino free-to-play game that's in the top 10 grossing on both iPhone and iPad, now on Android. And we launched a game called Fairway Solitaire, which is a single-player free-to-play game that's done extremely well. It's grossing about $4 to $5 million a year. And now we've just launched our first free-to-play hidden object game built by our partner, Elephant Games. We can help. It's an expensive endeavor. It's different than building premium casual. There's a lot of expense to build this game up front, and then there's ongoing expense to support the game post-launch. I think since we launched our title, Elephant has given us 3 new builds already with iterative improvements in 3 weeks. So that's a new build every week they've been supplying, which is great. And that's what's required to be successful in this market, is that you don't just build it and ship it, you build it and iterate and iterate and iterate. And so it's an ongoing commitment, and quality as always matters, but so does adapting and understanding what's working and what's not. So free-to-play games, if you want to reach 1.2, that stat's wrong. It's actually 1.4 billion according to Wikipedia, which I'm sure is accurate. Now on Big Fish Games' global PC app stores. And the reason we're excited about this is if you look at what happened to the iOS app store, in 2010, down at the bottom, Apple's mobile app store was 100% premium casual games. Games that you try, or games that you just buy, but you own the games. You buy the games and own them. By 2012, that premium business had more than doubled for Apple. However, during that same period, free-to-play surpassed it. Free-to-play is now the dominant, depending on your definition of free-to-play, it's between 60 and 85% of all revenue on iOS. So it's a big opportunity for our PC app stores. If we see the same kind of adoption of free-to-play on our PC app store, it's a big opportunity for developers who are building for mobile to extend that brand, extend that IP to the PC Mac as well. So again, complete solution for your games. You need to think about the big picture. I showed you that large revenue graph. That's across all these platforms. So if you take your game and you want to make money, you need to hit all the platforms that are relevant, and we can help. We are targeting PC, mobile, and TVs. We're offering now with cloud and with free-to-play all relevant business models. We have transactions, subscriptions, virtual goods, virtual currency, and advertising models for your games. And we look at a life cycle. I'm going to show you some case studies in a moment about the life cycle of a game. We originally launched a premium casual game as a $20 product. $20 used to be very inexpensive, kind of a bargain price. In the world of 99-cent games, $20 is a premium price, but for the right type of content, we still do huge volumes. As you saw with Dark Parables, we sold 35,000 units on our English PC store alone in the first 7 days. So there's still a huge appetite for these high-quality games, and people are willing to pay a premium price. We generally will launch a standard version of those games 4 to 6 weeks later for half the price. It won't have quite as many features, but what people are really paying for with the collector's editions are early access, and they're willing to pay for that early access. They want what's new, and they're not willing to wait. After that, we put it into the cloud gaming service, which has a kind of a long shelf life. The price points are slightly lower. But it allows our cloud gaming service only features games that are at least 6 months old. So we don't put brand new games into an all-you-can-eat model. That's very important because you do not want to walk away from that sales model. After 6 months, most premium casual games are not selling well, and so putting them into cloud gives them a second life and a longer shelf life to make money. And then if you take that same brand and you look at other business models, whether that be ad-supported, whether that be free-to-play, you can extend that life out through virtual item, virtual currency, and ad-supported models. Just as a couple examples I'll show here, this is a case study from BoomZap, who I believe Chris is in the audience, all the way from, there he is, all the way from Japan. Big round of applause. And before I go down this is a standard title. I'm calling it a standard title, which I think Chris would agree with. He has top-tier titles. Awakening is one of the most amazing brands that is in the industry today. This is supposed to show more of an average title. Sorry, Chris. But I think he would agree, because he does have outstanding titles as well. But to be realistic, to show an average title and what you can expect from that, When we launched Antique Road Trip USA, we launched on PC Mac as a standard edition. It did not qualify to be a collector's edition. It has to reach an objective bar based on consumer surveys to be able to go into the collector's edition program. We want to maintain that for the best of the best. However, it did make $450,000 on PC Mac. It made another $200,000 on iOS. And again, this is not showing a best case scenario. This is showing an average title. So if you think you can make $1 million off of every PC title, that's not the case. Excuse me, $1 million off every mobile release, that's not the case. It takes the best of the best to do those kind of numbers. Anyone who tells you elsewise is not telling the truth. There's an opportunity to extend this brand in the next year to Android, to cloud, and they're heads down right now building a free-to-play version. With Android and cloud, it's a port or no work at all. With free-to-play, they're reusing the theme, some of the artwork, but it's a brand new game. But it's leveraging the brand that's already been built around the premium casual game to give it an advantage. I'll show another one from Frogwares. Is Whale in the audience? Frogwares. He skipped the keynote. Wait, he's hiding. There he is. So this is another standard title. This is not one of his best. He has top-tier hit games that have done well in excess of $1 million. This is, again, another standard title, but I'm showing this for a different reason. And that is that it did very well. It did actually the exact same as Antique Road Trip on PC Mac. But there's a difference. On iOS, it only did $30,000. And it's not going to Android, from what I understand. And we'll be launching it into the cloud service in 2013. And there's a free-to-play opportunity in 2013 as well. So why does this graph look different than this graph? And this is a very important thing to think about, which is that these two games did the exact same sales on PC. Identical. So it's the same quality of game. So you can't point to quality for any differences. This is the same caliber of game. When this game was delivered to mobile, there was a big difference. Publishers matter. And this is, again, another, I'll just let the chart speak for itself. How about that? You got to be careful who you publish with. If the publisher does not have tremendous reach, you should self-publish. If the publisher has incredible reach to get your game discovered, then you should consider a publisher. I'll show you some case studies. This is a game from Alawar that we published called Stray Souls. I'll call this a high-performing title. This is not a #1 title. This is not a best-case scenario. This is a very good-case scenario. This is a hit game called Stray Souls. Stray Souls launched as a collector's edition, did $900,000 on our PC Mac store. We launched it 4 weeks later as a standard edition. It did another $500,000 in sales. We launched on iOS and did another $600,000 in sales. It will launch on cloud and Android in the coming year, hopefully hitting that magic $3 million mark as total sales. I see a number of cameras coming out, so I'll pause for a second. So this is a great game, and this is what a great game can do. Quality does matter. Those other games are great games, good games too. They're very good games, but the difference between a great game and a good game is several times more sales. It makes a big difference. Here's another one from Top Evidence Studios here in Eastern Europe. Is Alexei here today? Yes, another representative from Top Evidence here. Shows that I actually have permission to show these numbers and that these numbers are real. So Haunted Manor, Lord of Mirrors, launched on the PC Mac, did $900,000 in sales as a collector's edition, as a $20 SKU. It actually sold better at half price. It made another $1.1 million as a standard edition. We launched it on mobile, and it's now up to $1.1 million on mobile. And we'll be launching on Android and cloud in the coming year with no additional work on the part of the game developer. This is all just incremental revenue. And by the way, all these other PC, Mac, Collector's Edition, Standard Edition, and iOS continue to grow. That's not the lifetime value. That this game continues to sell well every day. So this is just where it is today. It's got a lot in its future. So what'd you learn today? What games to make? Again, the PC is a huge platform. It is not growing like mobile is, but it's a huge platform. So games you make is adventure games, hidden object, puzzle games for premium casual, hidden object, sim, RPG, builder mechanics for free to play, and casino, which I didn't talk about, but is a very successful genre for us on free to play. Those are the games that we see are making money time and time again. There's other exceptions. There's Angry Birds. For every Angry Birds arcade game, there's about 10,000 want-to-be Angry Birds that made no money. What I'm showing here are games that are lower risk and have a pretty much guaranteed ROI if you build a quality version of them. The physics-based arcade or some of the card games that you see on iOS are very, very, very successful, but they're very high risk. That for every success, there are a lot of failures. What platforms to support? And it's interesting, coming from a PC background, is that premium casual will still do 2 to 3x on PC across the world that it will on mobile. The PC, as I was saying a minute ago, I was getting ahead of myself, is still a big, big profitable platform. So if you build a premium casual game, whether that be a linear adventure game or whether that be a match 3 game, there's still an audience for those games, and it's big. You want to launch first on PC and then extend that brand to Mac, to iOS, to Android, and then to the cloud. The cloud gets everywhere, on every device. If you're building a free-to-play game, mobile is the right place to start. It's got the biggest audience. It's easy to quickly iterate and adapt that game. But once you have a successful free-to-play game, you can extend that to PC, to Mac, to Android, and eventually the cloud delivery service as well. And the sales pitch, why Big Fish Games is the best global partner for games. We're the world's largest games marketplace for casual games. Apple has a bigger store, but they try and serve every audience. They serve core, they serve mid-core, they serve arcade, kids. We serve casual games. That's all we do. And we're the biggest in the world. We have customer data that we continuously feed back to developers. If you work with Big Fish Games in the audience, have you ever seen any data from us about your game? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Oh, come on. I'll reverse it. Most people in the audience here have at one time or another published through Big Fish Games, and if you've never received customer feedback, raise your hand. A much better way to state that for shy people. We can get your content discovered on all platforms. Because of our heritage, because of building for almost 11 years now our portals around the world, we reach about 15 million users a day. And more importantly, these users are not just, Zynga reaches 200 MAUs. An MAU is not a good measure of success. If you look at actual purchasing customers, we have almost as many purchasing customers as Zynga. Zynga has a lot of free customers and a lot of free reach. We have a lot of purchasers. We have a lot of people who buy games from us. And finally, we partner for the long term. One thing to be careful is that you can be promised the world. You can have, I guarantee your game will sell X in the next 12 months. If that guarantee is not backed up by real money, that's not a guarantee. That's a false promise. We partner for the long term. We don't like to disappoint developers. There's very few people that have ever been disappointed by us. And so we take it very seriously and we partner for the long term. There's very few people we've ever partnered with in the game development space that is not still a partner today. And so we take it very, very seriously. So ask your fellow developers who is growing and making money. Ask around. There's a lot of, I can come up here and say anything. I can say every game you publish through us on mobile will make $2 million. That's a very short-term thing to say. I give you real facts, but ask around, because the best evidence of how to make money and what's real is to ask your peers. Who else is making money developing games? And again, it's Big Fish and developers working with Big Fish. So that is my presentation for this morning.
Thank you, Paul.
We have a few minutes for Q&A, and Q&A is always a little challenging in Kyiv because people are, for some reason, very shy.
Are you going to put on the headset so that you can hear the question?
No, I'll have Julia tell me what the question is.
All right.
Yes?
Hi, Paul. Thank you for the presentation. You've told about the difference between the auditory for premium casual and for free-to-play. And what about the real money gambling audience for your Big Fish casino? Is it different? Is the ARPU higher? How does it differ?
Yeah, real money gambling is a much higher average revenue per user. But it's a very, very competitive market. To advertise for real money gamer, so if a real money gaming makes 10x what a social gamer on average, it also costs 10x to acquire that real money gamer. So it's like the difference between buying a compact, inexpensive car, there's a profit built in there, versus buying a very expensive car. There's the expensive car in general, not always, was more expensive to build. So there is an opportunity there. We're just starting. We launched Big Fish Casino in the UK as a social app, and we've just recently added real money gaming in it. And the data's early. It does look incremental, but we don't know, and we will in the coming. That's why I didn't really allude to it here. We don't have enough data to really speak to today. Real money gaming is an incredibly competitive market. The US is a big gaming market if you have a physical casino. It is just starting to open up for online gambling. Nevada was the first to adopt online gaming if it's poker. They expect games of luck to open up in Nevada in the coming year. Looks like California is next, but there's still a lot of regulations. In Nevada, you have to actually be affiliated with a real physical brick and mortar casino to have an online gaming presence. And so right now, the opportunities for casino are social worldwide and real money in the established markets. But when you go into the established markets, you're competing with the BWINs, the party pokers, the 888s that have been there for a decade. The only thing that's new is mobile, but that's just a platform. So it's a big opportunity, but it's also very, very competitive. So the jury's out whether social gamblers will cross over to be real money or not.
Here's a question right here.
Hi, just one question. What do you think about HTML5 in general, mobile HTML5?
I love the theory behind HTML5. Big Fish Casino is written natively for iOS, but our version that we have on our website, it's an online version, and our Android versions and our Facebook versions are all the exact same code base in HTML5. If you play the native app versus the HTML5 app, you can feel the difference. HTML5 is not a robust game engine yet, and we hope it gets there because it makes life a lot simpler for everyone in this audience. But right now, it's a very difficult product to develop for, and the performance of the products you build is not up to what a native app can do. There's also the theory that HTML5 is build once, run anywhere. We've had to make customizations for almost every single browser and every single application that runs HTML5 that's specific to that particular platform or browser. So HTML5 is a standard, but it's not a complete uniform standard. So it holds a lot of promise. I'm hopeful, but it's not quite there yet.
Добрый день, Пол. Спасибо за презентацию. Извини, что задаю вопрос на русском. Что ты скажешь про неудачу облачного сервиса OnLive? Не боитесь ли вы, скажем так, тех же самых проблем, которые возникнут в облаке Big Fish?
So the question was, why did OnLive, which is a cloud gaming service, have difficulties? They sold for basically nothing, and they avoided bankruptcy but sold for nothing, and a lot of investors and debitors lost everything. OnLive was a cloud-based gaming service. OnLive was targeting core gamers, and they had three fundamental problems. The first is they had no good content. The content that they were getting was always late to market, is what a core gamer is expecting. The second was the economics of their model did not work. For a core game, you need a dedicated CPU and GPU in the cloud. That's very expensive. Every person playing simultaneously requires their own CPU. With our technology, we can get up to 30 people on a single machine in the data center. When you deliver a core game, it has to have sub 25 millisecond latency. That means the amount of time from a click to go up to the server and back down to the user is 25 milliseconds. That's not much time. Anything above that starts to feel very bad for a core game. With casual, we've tested up to 150 milliseconds, which is pretty much any typical broadband connection can achieve. And the focus group consumers did not know the difference between that and a native app. Point and click games work very well if there's a little bit of lag. The third and final issue was around user expectations. If you're playing a core game on OnLive, you're running down the hallway with a machine gun, there's 30 other people shooting at you, and you have a 50 millisecond lag as you pull that trigger and you die. You're never going to play that service again because you're angry. Now contrast that to casual. You find that strange umbrella in that hidden object scene. You click on that umbrella, it takes a tenth of a second, 100 milliseconds for that click to show up on the screen, which is a tenth of a second. The user doesn't even notice. So the difference in consumer expectations on what performance needs to be for a core game versus a casual is very different. Cloud works for casual today. Cloud may work for core in the future, but it's not there today. Do you want to translate? You got it?
He's got it already.
Thank you.
So I wanted to thank you personally for clarifying the difference between free-to-play and social, because that's been something that's been circulating for the last couple of years and confusing everybody. But I'd love to hear your opinion about why free-to-play works.
Well, free-to-play is simply a way to monetize a game, and it needs to be a specific game. Social games happen to be architected in a way that caters to a free-to-play business model. Meaning a social game is all about leveling up, sharing with your friends, and doing stuff and grinding through time. And if you spend money, you can waste time faster. You can level up faster, you can do other things faster. And so social games were built for a free-to-play mechanic. So many years people thought social equals free-to-play. A lot of people took those social games to mobile, and they didn't work that well. And then if you looked at the top of the charts, a lot of the games were free-to-play, but they were single-player free-to-play, meaning they're game mechanics that have that same kind of infinite replayability, that kind of grinding through scenes to level up and get the rare items. But they are single-player games. They're not social games. And single-player works better as a free-to-play model on mobile than a social game does on mobile. We have both. We have single-player, and our casino game is synchronous social. So it's a very social game, and they both work. So free-to-play is a business model, just like buying a game that you own is a business model. And so the two are very different. So social is a way to share and share and experience gaming. Free-to-play is simply a way to monetize a game. And again, if you take a premium casual game, a game that is meant to buy, that's of finite length or a finite number of different things to do, like a match 3 game, and try and impose free-to-play, it will fail. I can think of no successful examples of a premium casual game that was converted to free-to-play without a complete overhaul that worked well. Good free-to-play games are built from the ground up to support that business model. But again, it can be single-player or social.
Any other questions from the audience for Paul? Am I missing anyone?